the famed Swirsky Brothers sketch.
Yeah.
Okay, from Saturday Night Live.
Right.
It's you, George Wendt, and Robert Smigel, right?
Yes, and Mike Myers.
Mike Myers.
Yeah, we did the original sketch. They wrote it for me.
So now, okay, so you're hosting SNL that week, and
exactly.
then you go into a pitch room or something like that, or
No,
how does this work?
didn't. Yeah, Smigel, who's not even from Chicago, he's from New York.
Right.
But he knowing that I was from Chicago and that it was football season and all, he just came up with this idea and and of course he'd been around all these. So many Second City people work on SNL anyway.
Yeah.
So he knew about the whole Bears cult thing. So he came up with this idea of says, hey, why don't we do the skit about the Bears? You know, people talking like the Bears. And I thought, fantastic. How great is that? So we do that initial skit thinking, okay, it's a one-shot deal. It'll be fun. The people in Chicago get a kick out of it. The next day, my phone is ringing off the hook from people in Chicago saying, hey, man, they're playing your skit like on the radio, like on a loop. They just, it's constantly playing. And then next time I go to Chicago, they've got like billboards up saying the Bears, the Bulls, the Cubs, you name it. Everything was everything. So then George Wendt winds up hosting the show a couple weeks later, and they figure, well, perfect. We'll just make him Joe's brother. You know, so I was Bill Swirsky, I guess, and he was Bob Swirsky.
So George wasn't in the original skit.
No, George was not in the original skit. I was like I said, I was the original skit.
Right.
They did for me was me, Mike Myers, Chris Farley, and
That's
Smigel.
right, Farley, because Farley's the one who had the heart attack, right?
Yes. And then. And actually, they made a movie. They wrote a movie. Smigel wrote a movie, and it was really wonderful. And we were going to make the feature film, but that's what, unfortunately, Chris Farley passed away.
You were going to make a feature film based on the Swirsky Brothers?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Because if you think about it, they did the Coneheads movie.
Of course,
they did all those.
Wayne's World, all of it. Yeah.
So they had a movie. We were scheduled to do it. Chris Farley passed away, and he was kind of the linchpin for the film. So what we wound up doing is doing versions of the film, like for charity. In other words, we would do readings of them. And we did it in Chicago, and we had Mike Ditka actually come and play himself in the thing. Oh yeah, and this was such a perfect Ditka story because we did it for charity.
Yeah,
and this was about maybe 7-8 years ago now. We were going to do two performances, like one at 6 and one at 9, and we're sold out.
Yeah.
So, we do it. Ditka's there for the 6 o'clock one. We do it. It was great. Ditka goes out to dinner with his wife. He has a couple of cocktails. He forgets to come back for the second one. And it was good. So it was Mike. I love Ditka. He forgets to come back. So luckily there was, I think one of the pitchers for the White Sox happened to be there. I forget who it was.
And read for Ditka.
And he stepped in and read for Ditka's part. But we did it. And Smigel was there, Wendt, and I did it. It was wonderful.
So George hosted SNL a couple weeks later, and they just morphed your skit to include him.
Well, they just made him my brother.
Your brother.
His opening monologue was, "Hi, this is Bob Swirsky. My brother Bill is in the hospital because he had a heart attack," which is me. And so every time he would host it then and they'd relive that skit, he'd say, "Oh, Bobby's still in the hospital," or I forget if I was Bill or Bob, whichever one I was. Then I did do one more because I happened to be in New York. Because they'd always asked me to come back and do it with him.
Sure.
But I'd be busy. I'd be in California, I'd be making a movie, whatever. I'd say, "Look, boys, I'd love to fly in and do the skit. But I can't. I got to live my life here." But I did do one more when I think Danny DeVito was hosting the show. And so George and I both came in for it. So me, Danny, George, and I can't remember which one that was, but they wound up doing that skit like, I don't know, 15, 20 times.
We just had DeVito in here. I had no idea he was part of that. I would have absolutely asked him about that.
He did one. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Bill Swirsky. You were Bill.
You were Bill.
I was Bill. Okay, good. Good to know that. I got to remember that. I'm Bill. He was Bob.
Just one more time. By the way, you should do it again because it still works. I mean, it's not like this is aged at all.
Oh yeah.
It still works.
Yeah, and I think it's affected the speech patterns of people in Chicago. Because now I think they look at the billboards and they think, I guess we're supposed to talk like that. I guess we're supposed to say "duh" instead of "the." I think that skit has effectively removed the word "the" from like grammar schools, teaching, how to speak in Chicago. How do you say "the"? "Da." All right, very good. Move on.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download the Rich Eisen Show app.